couldn't leave you to die. I need your help.
But I am going to find her.
Jin, help me.
Please. For all the times I've done as you asked. Come with me.
Mongol Empire is invading our home. They are brutal. Relentless. Unstoppable.
Renounce the ghost. You are Jin Shimura. Loyal servant to the Shogun. Before we fought, I offered to adopt Tomoe as my daughter. Make her samurai.
You're not alone, Jin. Your father is the wind at your back. Your mother, the birds in the trees.
I am not your son. I am the ghost.
To talk about Ghost of Tsushima is to tell a story of struggle, of fighting back against an overpowering enemy, a commentary on the meaning of ethics and when it is right to disregard honor or victory. The game is an experience made with care and love by people who knew what they were doing. So today, I hope to bring you a brief look into this world they crafted and remind you of what the gaming community got almost 5 years ago. Naturally, there will be spoilers for the story in this video, but don't worry, I'll include timestamps and warnings so that you can skip over parts you don't want spoiled. So, and without any further ado, let's dive in. Ghost of Tsushima takes place in a real-life location, as Tsushima and Iki Islands are actually real archipelagos in Japan that were attacked and taken over by the Mongols over 900 years ago. Tsushima is a beautiful, verdant place with a variety of biomes and locations, from the beach where the Mongols first docked at Komoda to the frozen peaks in the north. There is a strong sense of realism and immersion in both the scenery and the weather cycles, and wherever you go, there is that feeling of real-life genuinity, as you don't feel like you're in a video game at all, but in an alternative simulation of what Tsushima Island actually looked like back during the Mongol invasion. And it's not just the visuals either. The sound design also plays a major role of instilling that sensation. The distant sounds of drums, the Mongolian chatter, and choice of music is just top notch, and I legit don't think you can find such atmosphere in many other games, especially not to such an uncanny degree of realism. Next, let's talk about the characters, starting with our protagonists, Sakai Jin, and one of two survivors from the battle at Komoda Beach, where the Mongols secured an overwhelming victory and kickstarted their invasion of Tsushima. Jin, who was disciplined since a young age by both his father and his uncle, grew up believing in and practicing the samurai code of honor. But as the game progresses, he finds himself put into situations where he has no choice except to break it, as he learns that his uncle, Lord Shimura, has been captured by the leader of the Mongol expedition, Khotun Khan. And in order to save him, he ends up having to do things that samurai would consider dishonorable, such as backstabbing, poisoning, and employing fear and terror as weapons on the battlefield. His character goes through a tremendous struggle to keep up with what he has to do, often reflecting on his actions and wondering if he is doing the right thing. Eventually coming to terms that to him honor meant protecting those who cannot protect themselves, and makes up his mind to bear the title of a ghost who will hunt down the invaders and drive them away no matter the cost. The story of Jin grows more in the Iki Island DLC, where he deals with his childhood trauma of seeing his father get killed in front of him, and even meets and forgives his killer after learning of his father's bloody past. Overall, Sakai Jin is one of the most interesting main characters I have ever played as in my entire life as a gamer. he is up there with Geralt of Rivia and Shikitono in terms of character depth and growth throughout the story. Lady Masako of Clan Adachi is the representation of lament, a woman who was robbed of everything by the invasion. Her entire family was murdered in cold blood, including children and infants, and she had to bury them alone. She meets Jin, and her first course of action is seeking revenge. Overcome by grief and rage, she goes on a dark path, developing violent urges which she sometimes took out on innocent people who had nothing to do with her family's massacre, eventually even drawing her sword against Jin himself. Thankfully, Jin manages to subdue her, and with his help, she eventually manages to track down the perpetrator, who turns out to be none other than her older sister, whom she presumed dead. Cornered, Masako's sister is asked why she did it, to which she reveals that she held a grudge because Masako got married to the man she wanted to marry herself, while she was wed to an abusive husband and sent off to live secluded and far away. She makes it very clear that she regrets nothing, and that she will not stop until Masako herself is also dead. So, Masako finally takes her revenge. In the aftermath, Masako is left alone in the world, with no family, no clan, and she takes to wandering, hoping to find some meaning in the life she still has. Masako Dono's story teaches Jin about the power of fury and how it can consume a person if not employed against those who deserve it. Sensei Ishiwaka is a bowmaster samurai who was supposed to be at the battle in Komoda Beach, but couldn't make it due to a bandit ambush. He is known for teaching his way of the bow, and his story follows him and Jin hunting down his former student, a woman named Tomoe, who joined the Mongols and started teaching them his way of archery. Along the journey, Jin also learns of Ishiwaka's brutal training methods, which might have caused Tomoe to betray him. Eventually realizing that Ishiwaka's situation might not actually be all black and white, Ishiwaka comes to understand his mistakes and forgives himself and Tomoe once it is revealed that she was forced to teach the Mongols, or else she would have been killed or worse. Ishiwaka Sensei's story teaches Jin about the relativity of things, about self-forgiveness and the will to forgive. Yuna is a peasant thief who saved Jin's life after she found him half dead on Komoda Beach. She nursed the final Sakai samurai to full health, and while initially distrustful and doubtful of his abilities, she comes to see his resolve when he breaks the samurai code for the first time in order to protect her and those in need. As the story progresses, Jin and Yuna save her brother, a young master blacksmith called Taka, and immediately Yuna wants off the island to secure both hers and her brother's safety. Jin, however, convinces her to stay until he frees his uncle, and then Lord Shimura would reward her with a way off the island. Once Lord Shimura is free, he does start arranging for a way off the island for her and her brother. But Taka, influenced by Jin's resolve and heroism, decides to follow Jin on one of his missions to offer his aid. The mission, however, was a trap. Jin gets captured and Taka is killed by Khotun Khan after bravely refusing to kill Jin in order to save his own self. Yuna is devastated by the news, and after mourning Taka's death, she swears revenge on the Mongols and Khotun Khan. Later, it is revealed that she and Taka were enslaved by warlords and criminals for years, which hardened her and made her into the resourceful thief that she is, and also made her distrustful and unbelieving in the samurai and their code of honor. Yuna and Taka's stories reinforced Jin's resolve and taught him that people don't have to be samurai in order to be heroes or have honor. Norio is the last surviving member of Cedar Temple's warrior monks, a fighting force that rode south to confront the Mongols after hearing of the samurai's defeat. They, however, got ambushed and tortured for days before Norio's brother was taken and supposedly killed. When Jin meets Norio, he is already fighting back against the Mongols alone, trying his best to protect those he can. And as they fight together, Norio's resolve and faith are tested on each step of the way, as he struggles between succumbing to his thirst for revenge and following his sense of justice. Towards the end of his tale, Norio and Jin return to Cedar Temple, where they find his brother still alive. although with none of his limbs, and tortured beyond reason. Norio finds himself having to put his own brother out of his misery after a heartfelt conversation, ending with Norio swearing to upkeep his duty and embrace the teachings of the Buddha, and refusing to get consumed by bloodshed. Norio's tale teaches Jin about the cost of war and the necessity to hold on to one's humanity even in dark times. Lord Shimura is Jin's uncle and the Jito of Tsushima. He is a staunch believer of the samurai's code of honor. When the Mongols invade, it is him who gathered up the samurai forces and rallied them in the battle on Komoda Beach. During his time as captive in Khotun Khan's grasp, he is steadfast and does not surrender or give in to the enticing offers made to him by the Khan. When he is rescued by Jin, Shimura notices that his nephew had begun to abscond with the samurai code, building up his reputation as the Ghost instead, committing assassinations and using terror as a weapon of war. He urges him to cease his exploits and tells him that he wishes to adopt him formally, and that together they can save Tsushima as samurai of the shogunate rather than some fairy tale ghosts. Jin is initially hesitant, but during the first assault on Khotun Khan, Jin refuses to sacrifice any more lives and sneaks in to poison the Mongol army holding the castle. This leads to their victory, but also Jin's capture, as he acted directly against Lord Shimura's orders, embracing his identity as the Ghost and is labeled a rebel for doing so. Once the Mongol leader falls to Jin's blade, Lord Shimura sends for him and informs him that the shogun requests his head, and that he truly doesn't want to be the one to kill his own nephew, expressing regret for what caused such events to happen, but still putting duty before family and challenging Jin to a final duel. Lord Shimura's tale reinforces Jin's belief that honor is relative, and teaches Jin that sometimes it is no use struggling to preserve a way of life that is slipping away even as the world around demands change. Yuriko was once the loyal caretaker of the Sakai family. She is the closest person Jin had to a mother figure, as his own mother died shortly after his birth due to illness. When Jin reunites with Yuri, he finds her still tending to his clan's empty home, her elderly mind slipping between past and present. Still, she remained deeply caring and affectionate of Jin. She tells him stories about his father and mother. After some time, it becomes clear to Jin that Yuriko was on her last legs, lost in memories of days when she still served his father and mother. In her final moments, she even mistakes him for his father, showing how deeply she longed for those bygone days. She quietly passes away while meditating on the shrine where her family is buried. It is a sad, heartbreaking scene that made me physically tear up while playing, and is the ultimate proof that even side characters who have very little screen time can be well written and fulfilling. Yuriko's tale teaches Jin that even while Tsushima is fighting for its fate, some battles, like the passage of time, simply cannot be won. The companion stories in Ghost of Tsushima are each beautiful in their own right, and I think that they were the highlights of my playthrough despite them being side content. Now, we'll talk about gameplay. First, the exploration factor of the game is encouraged by upgrades. Exploring the map grants you maximum health increases, charm slots, more resolve, and unique equipment, though you'll never feel pressured to leave whatever you're doing in order to level up and explore. You can do it at your own pace. The combat system is very fun and challenging. It has two aspects that evolve as you progress through the game. Jin unlocks more stances, more abilities, and tools that he can use, and enemies also grow more powerful, wearing more armor, gaining different moves, and using different weapons. Having to swap stances depending on the type of enemies you're fighting is really fun and challenging, especially when you are fighting a horde of enemies and have to keep track on who you're attacking, and with what stance. For example, sword users are easier to fight with the stone stance, spear users with the wind stance, shield bearers are easier with the water stance, and beefy large boys require the moon stance to be effectively disposed of. Although you can also just quickscope Mongols with an arrow to the head if they're not wearing a helmet, and it does a good job dealing with them. The stealth system is basic, but it does the job. You don't need to overcomplicate things. Hide in grass, assassinate when they're not looking, you get chain assassinations and better ways to handle complex situations as you unlock more tools from your arsenal. Although simple, it doesn't mean that it is not well thought of. For example, if you are caught, you still have the chance to kill whoever caught you before they call for backup, and if you manage to do so, the rest won't be alerted to your presence. My favorite thing to do when tackling a smaller group of enemies is to use the standoff mechanic, which is when you get the chance to kill up to 4 enemies in one hit and look very cool while doing it. If I had to criticize one thing about Ghost of Tsushima, it would be the boss fights. Goodness me, the boss fights make no sense at all. One second I'm slaughtering fully armored men with ease, the other I'm fighting some guy in robes and a katana and he takes 300 slashes to be put down. Like, come on, that's not cool. Also, I legit died to some random Ronin more than I died the entire time on the main quest, including the final boss, who I thought was a pushover. The Eagle boss fight in the DLC is slightly better, but it is still nowhere near how many times that random Ronin planted me in the dirt. With that, I'd like to say that Ghost of Tsushima is a legendary game, and one of the best I've ever played. And with the rise of the controversial Assassin's Creed Shadows, I'd like to point to Ghost of Tsushima and say that we must never forget this gem, as it is certainly a fantastic experience, and one that I would 100% want to wipe my memory to experience again. Before I go, I'd like to thank you for watching, and while I don't exactly make videos like these more often, if you want to see general gaming content, remember to press the like button and subscribe. Check out my other videos, Twitter, Discord, Patreon, you name it, I got it. This was Imaginary Watcher, and I'll see you around.
さらば忘れがたきは汝安らかに眠れ